Hello, my loves, and welcome back to my channel. So, today we are going to be making some glitter pens, and I do have to apologize in advance because I kind of forgot to film a part. Um, as you could have seen by the thumbnail, we are going to add charms, and I forgot to film that part when I was doing the pens. So, here I am using an Inkjoy gel pen, and I'm just gonna be using a couple pliers to take the little clippy part off. And um, after I do that, it does have like a little piece of plastic, so I'm just trying to cut that off and take it off. Um, in the beginning, you saw that I put the pliers up to um, the point. That's just in case you need to use it because sometimes they are a little hard to unscrew. So if you do need that, just be careful with it and um, use some pliers. So the next step for this is sanding. So we are going to be sanding the little bumps from the pen, um, like where the clip came off and some other little bumps. And after we do that, we are going to sand the whole pen. And here I am using an 80 grit sand block um, to make sure that I remove everything from my pen. It is kind of worn down because I have used it a lot, but it still did the trick. So once I finish that, I am going to clean my pen with some alcohol, and we are going to stick it onto a like um I've seen people use straws. I'm going to use a wooden dowel with a little kind of like a rubber band stopper type thing. um and I am also going to be using a stopper on the top so that when I go to resin my pen, um, none of the resin gets in on the top or the bottom or gets stuck to my dowel. So that's why we are using that's the little stopper at the top. So now I am going to paint my pens because I am doing some with very light colors. So I don't want it to be as dark when I lay that down. So here I am just using a primer paint. I am using Prime Time. You could also spray paint it with just some um, matte white spray paint, or try to use like a different primer paint. I've never tried anything else besides spray paint and Prime Time. So after I did that, I am going in with some Mod Podge and I am going to glue my pens. And for this, I did do about 10 pens since it was a custom order. But I am not going to show you every single pen and every single color in the video because that would be way too long. So here I am just going to sprinkle my glitter and try to get the best coverage that I can on the pen. If you don't get a perfect coverage after your first layer of glitter and Mod Podge dry, you can do a dry brush by knocking off all the glitter and reapplying Mod Podge and reapplying glitter. So after I finished glittering all these pens, I am going to take some UV resin and my UV lamp and just apply a coat of UV resin onto all of the pens and try to get it as smooth as possible as I can. Um, I do try to kind of spin the wooden dowel as I go, so it kind of levels out on its own. And I did about probably like 2 to 3 coats of UV resin just to make sure that I had a good um, flat surface for when I needed to apply my decals. Sorry, my dog is being weird. So yeah, after I applied all of the resin on all of the pens, I went in with my decals. And the decals, if well, not if I cut them out beforehand and I weeded them out beforehand. If you would like to see a video on that or have it in a video, let me know and I will do my best to put it in a video. So as you can see here, I am curing the resin and I do spin the dowel a little still just to make sure it is leveled. I think I did like 2 or 3 minutes under the UV lamp. So just so I can make sure that it was completely cured. If you somewhat cure it and you don't think it's cured, you could also leave them out in the sun for a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see here, I am sanding some of the pen where I felt that it had some sharp edges before I applied my decal on it. And all of these decals, I sized them according to the pen. If you're unsure, I did measure them after I applied the glitter and the resin and everything just to make sure that I knew my decals were going to be sized correctly. Because the glitter and the resin obviously add a bit of thickness to the pen. So yeah, so I didn't want to bore you guys with how to weed all of this, and they were tiny, so it kind of did take me a while to weed out 10 decals. And alright, so as you can see here, I am just taking my transfer tape and making sure that I can transfer all of my decal onto that transfer paper so that I can put it on my pen. And I am just going to take my decal and align it as best as I can, just so that the seams, once they meet up, they are straight and I have no problems. I did actually have a couple problems with some of the pens that they didn't line up, but that was no big deal because I just peeled up the decal a little bit. And so like I said, I just peeled up the decal a little bit and aligned it as best as I could. I did have a little bit of excess, which is in my case preferable, because then you could always go back with an X-Acto knife and cut off any excess that you might have on the pen. So after I rolled all of my decals on that, I did go back and I cut all of the 10 pens that had excess on them. And here I am just taking another of the decals and getting it ready to put on to the pen, just to make my process a little bit faster since it was 10 pens. And here I go in with the X-Acto knife, just cutting a little bit of the overlap so it's not as noticeable when you go back and resin it. So like I said, I'm just going to cut the excess from the top and the bottom of the decal. I did have to play around with it a little bit just so that I can make sure that the name wasn't going to be bigger because I did just want it to kind of look like a crayon that just has like the name in the middle of it. So I did play around with it. You can play around with your decals to size it according to your pens when you guys decide to make some. Um, and I also had to resize it because of the length. Like I didn't want the little bands to go like all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom because I think that would have kind of made it look a little bit weird, but that's just me. So after I decaled all 10 of these, I went back with some UV resin, and this is a new UV resin that I got. Um, it's supposed to be like specially for pens, like when you're making pens. It is self-leveling, I believe. Um, I think that's what they said um, on a video of theirs. I did get it from Resin Rockers, and so far I have liked this resin. Um, I did do 2 coats of the resin just to be safe, that everything was sealed correctly, and all in all, I did like the consistency of the resin. Um, there you just kind of see me cleaning up the top because I didn't want to deal with any resin on the top for our next part. So, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I did forget to film the part where I added the charms to these glitter pens, but I am using one of my old pens that I made a while back, and these little ring thingy mabobber jiggers that hold the charm, I also got them off of the Resin Rockers um, website. You simply just attach that little ring onto the top of your pen. Here, I do have a couple little like jump ring type things to hold the charms onto the little lobster clasp thingy, whatever they're called. I am by no means an expert in jewelry, so I mean, all of these things are new to me, and I don't know what they're called. So, okay, so once I did this, I did pick out 2 sizes. One was smaller than the other because I kind of wanted uh, kind of like a layering effect on that. And I don't know if you guys could see it well, but um, I do have a tiny little butterfly and a circle with my initial on it. So here I am just going to take some of the pliers and use this little, like a ring that comes in the kit that I got, and it's supposed to help you open the little jump rings, I think. So it was much easier for me to do that. Uh, and then I am just going to close it back up, and there you can see that I added the N to the lobster clasp, and now I am going to add the little butterfly on it just to create kind of like a little layered effect. And um I like how it turned out. I will most likely end up doing a lot more pens with charms. If you guys try this out, let me know. And if you guys need help, I will try to help to the best of my ability. And as you can see there, I connected the little butterfly with the N. And now I am going to put the little, that ring piece to the pen. And this is basically how it's gonna look. Obviously, I'm not gonna hold it, but it will look like that once I put the charm on it. So uh, here I am just going to disassemble my pen since it was already assembled, and I am just going to see that I align that little ring part correctly onto the top of my pen, and otherwise you'll have problems when you go to put in, like once you go back to assemble your pen, you could have problems because the ring would either be in the way of the little clicker thingy on the pen. So here I am just going to put some UV resin on a scrap piece of paper, and I'm gonna take a toothpick and just put a little bit on the top so that it doesn't become so much that it would float inside of the pen, because I don't want to use a stopper for this because it is too big. Um, so now here I am just going to take some little tweezer thingy bobber jiggers and try to align it as best as I can. And you do want to make sure you align this correctly in so that it doesn't mess with once you go into assemble your pen for the clicker. So I did keep this under my lamp for about 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure that it was completely cured and it was secure. So then once I did that, I am going to make sure that I can assemble my pen properly, and I did. So now I am just going to show you how I put the little lobster clasp on there. I did have a little bit of an issue because uh, I just have trouble sometimes coordinating things. But this is the pen. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys on Saturday with a brand new video.